November 14th, 2025. For the first time in modern U.S. history, the American military did not get paid. While politicians in Washington were busy debating, hundreds of thousands of American service members, from brand new recruits to seasoned officers, woke up to a $0 payday. This wasn't just some delay, it was a full-blown financial crisis for the families who sacrifice everything. This video isn't just about the political blame game. We're going to show you the real-world impact on those families and explain why the so-called solution was nothing more than a band-aid on a bullet wound. On October 1st, 2025, the United States government officially shut down. Congress, hopelessly gridlocked over spending bills, failed to pass the laws needed to keep the government running. Now, this wasn't the first time. Shutdowns have become a depressingly regular feature of American politics. But this one felt different. For weeks, essential services hung in the balance. National parks closed their gates, and food safety inspections were cut back. Around 670,000 federal employees were furloughed, while another 730,000 were deemed essential and forced to work without pay. Among those essential workers were the 1.3 million active duty members of the United States military. They stood their posts, flew their missions, and kept watch around the globe, just like they always do. But as the shutdown dragged from weeks into over a month, a line was crossed that had never been crossed before. In every previous shutdown, a last-minute deal or a special piece of legislation, like the Pay Our Troops Act, had always guaranteed the military got their money. It was an unspoken promise. This time, that promise was broken. By November 14th, members of every single branch of the armed forces missed their paycheck because of political paralysis in Washington. The financial bedrock for the nation's defenders crumbled, not from an outside attack, but from the inside. For Sergeant Miller, an Army mechanic at Fort Cavazos, Texas, the news felt like a physical blow. With a car payment, daycare for his toddler, and rent on their small off-base apartment, his family's budget was already tight. To make matters worse, his wife, a civilian employee on the same base, had been furloughed for weeks. Their dual income, once a stable foundation, had completely vanished. They were one point of failure away from disaster, and that failure had just shown up as a blank bank statement, and the Millers weren't alone. Their story is a snapshot of a crisis that hit military communities everywhere. It's no secret that young, enlisted families are often financially vulnerable, living paycheck to paycheck on salaries that barely keep up with the cost of living. A missed paycheck isn't an inconvenience, it's a catastrophe. It means choosing between groceries and the electric bill. It means late fees, hits to credit scores that take years to fix, and the corrosive stress of not knowing when the money will come. Aid organizations saw an unprecedented surge for help. The Military Family Advisory Network reported getting over 50,000 requests for assistance in just 3 days, with families desperate for food, diapers, and gas. One food pantry near Fort Leavenworth, Kansas, saw a 300% spike in families needing help. These weren't just the youngest service members. NCOs with families, people who had never needed help before, were now in line at food banks. The very people sworn to protect the nation were relying on charity to feed their children. As one advocate put it, strength does not fill a pantry. So, what went so wrong? Why, after decades of protecting the military from political fights, did the system finally break in 2025? The answer is a toxic brew of extreme political polarization and the total failure of the usual legislative safeguards. In past shutdowns, like in 2013 and 2019, Congress would quickly pass a standalone bill to keep military pay flowing. These Pay Our Troops Acts were seen as a political no-brainer. No politician wanted to be the one seen stiffing the military. It was a reliable safety valve in a broken system. In 2025, that safety valve seized. The shutdown was caused by deep, fundamental disagreements that made compromise impossible. Bills to fund the military were introduced, but they got tangled in the larger, toxic debate. Each side used the military's paycheck as a bargaining chip, daring the other to be the one to let the checks stop. It was a game of political chicken, and this time, nobody swerved. The result was a catastrophic failure of leadership that sent a devastating message. In the heat of a political battle, the military's paycheck was now considered collateral damage. The crisis didn't stop with military paychecks. It set off a cascade of emergencies that touched almost every part of American life. The shutdown threatened Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, or SNAP, benefits, sending millions of low-income Americans, including many veteran and junior military families, scrambling for help. The federal workforce was thrown into chaos. Beyond the hundreds of thousands of furloughed employees and those working without pay, there were the contractors, the cleaning crews, IT specialists, and support staff who work for private companies that depend on government contracts. They lost their income too, but with no guarantee of ever getting back pay. Military spouses holding federal jobs saw their family's income vanish, a double blow to households already reeling from a missed military paycheck. Public services ground to a halt, national parks became ghost towns, and the IRS delayed tax refunds. Even food safety inspections were scaled back, creating potential health risks. The economic shockwave was immediate. States, which rely on federal money for countless programs, had to drain their own budgets, with some even suing the federal government to try and restore funding for things like SNAP. This wasn't a DC problem. It was a national crisis that showed just how tied together federal operations are with the daily lives of everyone. This level of systemic failure demands we all pay closer attention. If you're finding this breakdown valuable and want to understand the forces shaping our world, take a second to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. We're committed to tracking this story and bringing you the analysis you won't find anywhere else. After weeks of intense public pressure and growing economic damage, Congress finally managed to act. 2 bills were passed to end the shutdown, restoring funding and allowing furloughed employees to go back to work. On paper, the crisis was over. The back pay would eventually show up, but the uncertain timeline still meant stress for families with bills due now. But let's be clear, this wasn't a solution. It was a temporary truce. The deal only funded the government until January 30th, 2026, kicking the can just a little way down the road. The core, bitter disagreements that caused the shutdown were left completely unresolved. All the legislation really did was hit the pause button on the crisis, setting up another potential financial cliff just a few months away. It treated the symptoms, the lack of funding, but did nothing to cure the underlying disease of political dysfunction. It was a flimsy band-aid on a massive, self-inflicted wound. The economic damage from this manufactured crisis was both immediate and permanent. The Congressional Budget Office estimated that the shutdown permanently erased between $7 billion and $14 billion from the U.S. economy. Real GDP growth for the fourth quarter of 2025 took a massive hit, dropping by an estimated 1.5 percentage points. This wasn't just a number on a spreadsheet, it represented real pain. Small businesses that rely on federal contracts saw their revenue vanish. During the standoff, federal workers collectively missed out on an estimated $16 billion in wages. Even though that pay was eventually restored, the timing is what hurts. Mortgages went unpaid. Credit scores were damaged. Some families had to turn to high-interest loans to bridge the gap, digging themselves into an even deeper hole. But beyond the numbers lies a more profound and lasting scar: the erosion of trust. For the military, the shutdown shattered the belief that their service put them above the political fray. It proved that the promise to care for service members and their families was fragile. For the public, it was another stark reminder of a government so broken that it's willing to harm its own economy and its most dedicated servants to score political points. The money is flowing again, but the damage to the faith we have in our institutions will take much longer to repair. The 2025 government shutdown will be remembered as a moment of shocking failure. For the first time, political gridlock stopped the pay for the entire U.S. military, turning the lives of service members and their families completely upside down. They were forced to line up at food pantries while still performing their duties to protect the country. The bills that ended the crisis gave a temporary reprieve, but they solved nothing, ensuring the threat of another shutdown is always just around the corner. The financial security of the families who form the backbone of our national defense was proven to be far more fragile than anyone thought. The checks are flowing again, but the trust is broken. So, we're left with a critical question. What happens next time? And what message does it send when a nation fails to pay the very people who swear an oath to defend it? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you for watching.